I didn't start this war. I built a fence. That's it. But when the HOA sent their fake security boys to cut my wire, then try to steal my land, I answered with 8,000 volts of legal Texas electricity. They thought they could drag me to court. By the end, they were the ones begging for mercy. And if you're sitting there thinking this is just another tall tale out of Texas, let me set you straight. Peace never lasts forever out here. Not on land that remembers more than you do. My name's Clay Banner, and every inch of this sunburned Texas dirt has carried my family's weight since 1931. My granddad carved the first fence line with a borrowed mule and hands that still shook from the Great Depression. Yeah, you could say this land has never really been for the faint of heart. My father kept the place alive through droughts, sick cattle, and a tornado that peeled half the barn roof clean off, but left the old windmill spinning like it was nothing. And now, well, it's my turn. 120 acres, just wide enough to breathe, just quiet enough to hear yourself think. Most mornings are the same. I step out on the porch before the sun clears the ridge, air still sharp with cold, thick with cedar, dust, and whatever the coyotes left behind. My boots find their way into those grooves worn down over decades, and Duke, my old dog, trots out beside me, yawning like he's the boss. By 6, I'm out checking the cattle, tapping water troughs to make sure nothing ran dry. Fence inspection comes next, line by line, the way my dad showed me. Not because I expect trouble, but because trouble finds you quicker if you stop looking. For most of my life, that routine kept the world at the right distance. Town folks knew me, sheriff knew me, and my real neighbors, well, they respected a man who worked his land and minded his business. But you know how it goes. The world changes. Or maybe it just moves closer. When the Clear Hill Acres development sprang up beyond my northern boundary, it rose overnight like a rash you can't scratch. Streets too straight, lawns trimmed too short, houses stacked in neat little rows that never match the land's curves. They carve a road where cattle used to wander and planted trees that wouldn't last a Texas summer, and then filled those houses with people who liked the idea of the country, but didn't respect the reality. At first, I didn't care. Let them worry about mailbox colors and bird feeder rules. My deed was older than their subdivision, older than any HOA. Still, I felt something in my gut when I saw that road built close to my fence line. Not fear, not anger, just that old rancher's instinct like the air before a storm. So I upgraded the northern fence. Not to provoke, just to draw a line between a world of clipped hedges and a world that answers to sun, soil, and sweat. I sank every post myself, treated cedar with steel core, ran the wire tight enough to hum when the wind shifted, hung solar cameras every 50 feet. Signs every 10, private property, in no trespassing, video surveillance. If you don't get that message, the problem isn't the sign. By the time I finished, sun was dropping low, turning that fence into a copper line that stretched clear to the horizon. I felt good, a quiet pride. But peace is fragile, and some folks can't stand seeing a line they didn't draw. It started small, a glance from a jogger, an SUV slowing down to stare, teenagers pointing at my cameras like they were props. I ignored it, kept to my land, my cattle, what was mine. Then one morning, I found a letter in my mailbox, cream-colored, embossed seal, not even addressed to Clay, but to property owner, Northern Boundary Zone. No return address, just a name, Bradley Sloan, President, Clear Hill Acres HOA. I didn't know him, didn't want to. I opened the letter, read the first line, and laughed, slow and long, the way you laugh when you know someone's picked the wrong fight. That letter tried so hard to sound official. Said my fence didn't fit the aesthetic standards of the Clear Hill Acres community. Claimed I had 30 days to remove unauthorized visual obstructions to preserve neighborhood harmony. Harmony. If you've ever seen this stretch of Texas, you know there's nothing harmonious about it. Rugged, stubborn, maybe never harmonious. I finished my coffee, set the letter aside, and went on with my day. Must have been a mistake, right? Wrong. 2 weeks later, a bigger envelope showed up. Same glossy seal, only heavier, and inside, a formal notice of violation, paragraphs written like someone swallowed a law book. They call me a public safety concern. Said the HOA was prepared to escalate. Tucked in the back, a blurry satellite map with a big red outline drawn around my property's north edge, as if it belonged to them. That part didn't make me laugh. I stared at that red line along while thumb hooked to my belt, then wrote back. Not on fancy paper, just a torn notebook page, all caps, just to annoy them. I attached copies of my deed, my registration, the old boundary map, signed it. Clay Banner, owner, Independent AS Hell. God bless Texas. Things got quiet for a bit. But trouble, real trouble, doesn't knock on your door. Sometimes it climbs your fence with bolt cutters. Sometimes it wears a polo shirt with a fake badge. I didn't know that yet. Sitting at my kitchen table with the second letter beside my plate, I thought maybe the storm was passing. Turns out, it was just gathering strength. It was a Thursday when my phone buzzed, motion alert. I was knee-deep in mud, fixing a water valve. Duke barked once, low and sharp. I checked the feed. 2 men at my fence. HOA polos tucked into khakis, holding clipboards like badges. The skinny one snapping photos, the heavier one tracing his hand along my fence. Then he started to climb. Didn't read the sign, didn't care, just climbed. I didn't shout, didn't run. I just watched because my granddad always said, "Don't confront a fool before you collect your evidence." I saved the video, filed it away. 10 minutes later, they climbed down, scribbled notes, and walked off. You'd think that'd be it. But a few days later, I found the top wire snipped, cut clean, bolt cutters, right below the NO trespassing sign. Pulled up the camera feed. Yep, same HOA polo, creeping and cutting. That was it. I called the sheriff. Officer Judson rolled down the drive, stretched his back, and looked north. "These HOA folks," he muttered. "They forget where the pavement ends." He wasn't wrong. I felt a quiet resolve settle in my chest. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a test, and they'd picked the wrong fence. That night, another alert. Past midnight, camera on the north fence, infrared mode. Same build, same walk, only now a hoodie and backpack. In his hand, bolt cutters. I'd replaced that section with a dummy wire hooked to a die pack. He cut, leaned through, and pop. Neon orange dye everywhere. He stumbled, slipped, cussed, then ran for his life. I saved the clip, printed the frames. A little later, Sheriff Hayes came by, big man, gentle eyes, boots older than half the county. "Clay," he said, "be ready. This isn't about your fence, it's about your land." And he was right. Next morning, black SUV in the drive. Out steps a man who looked like he ironed his posture. Bradley Sloan, president, Clear Hill Acres HOA. He had that confidence built on paperwork, not sweat. He tried to buy my northern strip for $50,000. Mutually beneficial, he called it. Then threatened ongoing complications if I refused. I got every word on my recorder. "You threatening me?" I asked. He laughed it off, but that mask had slipped. This wasn't about fences, not about aesthetics. It was about taking my land. So I did what any man with real roots does. I took my paperwork to the county. Roberta at the counter found my land exactly where it's always been. HOA boundary stops 43 feet south of my fence. She printed me 2 maps, laminated, certified, clear as day. I mailed one to Bradley with a sticky note. "Stop trespassing. You're out of your jurisdiction." With that map, I knew the fight was going to change. So I drove into town, bought every certified part for a legal Texas AG electric fence, and by sundown, the north line hummed with a low warning hum. The next morning, the HOA boys came back. One grabbed the fence, got zapped so hard his hat flew off, clipboard followed, and his buddy dropped his phone, scrambling away. I replayed the footage twice just to remind myself and them what real boundaries look like. But the next day, they didn't just come angry, they brought a news crew. Reporter asked, "Mr. Banner, we heard the HOA tried to remove a legal fence." Comment, Bradley tried to stonewall, but I pointed out the county map, the warning signs, the footage. Reporter pressed harder. The whole county saw it. HOA folks tried to push a rancher off land his family owned since 1931. When the cameras left, Bradley didn't look so tall anymore. And the next day, the lawyers came knocking. Now, here's where it flips. Most people think ranching is about wire and water, but out here, paperwork's sharper than any barbed wire. I built a legal war chest. Maps, letters, photos, camera stills, the die-pack video, and that audio of Bradley's threat. Then I called Daniel Torres, best attorney I know, old friend from the service, and a man who doesn't scare easy. Daniel took one look at my pile of evidence and grinned. Clay, this isn't a fence fight. This is a land grab. We're going to make them pay. Monday came, courthouse packed, Clear Hill Acres folks on one side, ranchers and neighbors on the other. Judge Hart didn't play games. Daniel rolled out the county map, played the night vision video, then the audio of Bradley's threat. The judge looked like she wanted to hit Bradley with the gavel. Then Daniel showed the real kicker, a developer's road sketch, dated 2 months before the first violation letter. They didn't find a violation. They manufactured one to grab my land. Judge Hart slammed the verdict down. My fence is legal. My land is mine. The HOA pays $135,000 in damages, and Bradley is reported to the DA. By the time Daniel and I walked out into that big Texas sky, I felt the land settle under me again, steady, proud, unchanged. My inbox blew up. Congratulations, thanks, angry rants at the HOA, but the ones that stuck were from other ranchers and landowners facing the same fight. A young rancher named Harold Kim asked for help. I invited him over, showed him my fence, told him I didn't start a war, but I didn't let one roll over me either. Soon, more folks joined. Ranchers, goat farmers, vets tired of HOA drones over their land. We met, shared stories, called it the Fence Line Network. Daniel drafted up legal templates. Denise from Channel 5 did a segment. Pretty soon, HOAs around here thought twice before flexing their paper muscles. As for Clear Hill Acres, they folded fast. Their apology posted at 2 a.m. Satisfied no one, Bradley resigned, and word got around that no developer in Austin wanted the guy who lost to a rancher with a solar zap fence. A few weeks later, I met a dad and his little boy by the fence. The boy asked, "Sir, did you really zap a whole neighborhood?" I laughed. "No, son. I just reminded them where their neighborhood ends. That fence, humming in the morning breeze, isn't just wire and volts now. It's a promise, a line drawn in Texas dirt. A reminder that some land isn't for sale, isn't for taking, and sure as hell isn't for an HOA to claim. So here's my question for you. Where do you draw your line? When is enough enough? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me your story. Argue about justice, about right and wrong. Because out here, a man's got to stand for something or he'll fall for anything. And if you ever find yourself up against a bully, HOA or not, just remember, sometimes all it takes is a fence, a good dog, and the guts to say not today. 11.